Sometimes it's hard for me to believe that I painted this portrait of my wife because I don't really do art anymore. I would like to tell you about the story of why I left a career of portrait art but why I was doomed to fail in the first place. This is the Portraiture Paradox. So, I know, don't worry, it's not a sad story. But my story starts right about here. When I was about 2 years old, I painted this picture of a sailboat that still hangs on the wall of my parents' bedroom about almost 35 years later. And not everyone would understand the significance of this, but it's actually pretty advanced for most preschoolers. And my mother knew this, and ever since then she's been my biggest fan. She kept all of my sketchbooks, and I'm grateful for a lot of the memories that they hold. This was the first time, or a time that my grandfather showed me how to draw proportions of the face, probably the moment that the seed was planted to become a portrait artist. I was about 4 or 5 when that happened. As I grew older, I was constantly drawing faces that I saw in magazines, like this image of Kurt Cobain that I drew in it was about grade 7. It was also the first drawing that I ever sold to a classmate, paid me $5 for one just like it. And I'll tell you, if my dream was a seed, then that was the fertilizer, and I was hooked. By the time I was in high school, I was on my way to photorealism, and that's exactly what I was going for. Both. A drawing that is so lifelike and realistic that you can't distinguish it from a photo. I would spend hours and hours on my work, like that image that I drew in grade 11. Oddly enough, I went to study digital media arts and animation instead of a more traditional fine art degree. But there you go. Because I work in digital media, I'm grateful for that. But any opportunity that I had to do a portrait, like this digital painting from Photoshop class, I was all over it. Although I enjoyed and succeeded at many digital art forms, nothing felt more at home than life drawing class. And there was a life drawing class in the program, fortunately enough. And I went on to teach art life drawing after college, and it's the one thing I do miss. In college, one of my instructors, he pushed me to get back into fine art, and so I drew his portrait. And I left college wanting to be a portrait artist. I loved studying faces and learning the stories that they told. I even learned a little bit about face reading, the component to Chinese medicine. Here are 2 interesting facts that I got to race through for timing. One is that they say up until 20 is the face your mother gave you, and after 20 is the face you give yourself, meaning that it's constantly changing based on outside influences. The second fact is that, as you can see here, the right side of your face is your mask. It's what hides your emotions. Your left side is what you use to show your true emotions. As you can see, I have a lot of dexterity and muscle tone on the right side of my face because I'm actually really good at hiding my emotions. I know it's not healthy. But here's a tip for your Instagram selfies. If you want to appear more confident, more powerful, show the right side of your face. If you want to appear more friendly, more emotionally available, show the left side, like this portrait of my parents, which is getting pretty close to photorealism. Speaking of which, this is probably my masterpiece. It is about 1 meter tall, and it took me well over 100 hours to complete. And his name is Stephen. The minute I met him, I knew I wanted to draw his portrait. He was probably really confused by that request, but he did it regardless. And I ended up, does he love it? Probably not. But lost my time. Here's the point. The point is that up until now, every picture I've shown you was done out of my own enjoyment for my own portfolio. I hated doing portrait commissions. I didn't realize it at the time, but every time that I was obligated to draw someone as they wanted to be seen and not as I wanted to explore them in their experiences, it was just spirit crushing. It was tough. It was really hard. And I couldn't find a market for my own exploration of interesting and often rugged faces, nor was I able to enjoy creating school-style portraits like this one. It just felt fake and not what drew me to the art form. Plus, I didn't love drawing children. That was the Portraiture Paradox. The portraits that I love to create, no one wanted to pay for. And the portraits that people did want to pay for, were painful to get through. Case in point, this is Warren. He lived on the street. Did I ever ask myself who's going to pay for this? No, I just wanted an interesting face to study and to draw. I started painting portraits as well to try and find a more commercial success. And this is my nephew, but still, it's not a portrait that someone might commission, but I just loved the image and the story that it told. With every commission, though, I still just felt this internal conflict, and I had to stop. And this was the last one. And it is a bit of a sad story, but I know that I will always come back to portraiture at some point, but not for a long time. But I once had the opportunity to do a portrait for Belinda Stronach, and it wasn't a commission, but I still felt a lot of pressure to make her happy. And as odd as that might sound, that really tainted the experience for me. But the good news is that in preparing my talk for today, I was inspired to sketch my son, and mostly to say that it's not a sad story. I will always have art, but the moral is that our relationship is different now. It's not about, it's a lot less conflict, and it's not about making money.